Welcome back, everyone. Today I'll be showing you how to build all three of the Three Brothers decks. But before we get into that, I want to thank everyone for 250 subscribers. And to show my thanks, I am doing a giveaway. So all you gotta do is like, comment, subscribe, and 5 individuals will get 1 pack of Demon Slayer each. So we have Rengoku, Tanjiro, Inosuke, Nezuko, and Zenitsu. And I will put a link down to my store below for anyone who wants to purchase these sleeves or see what else I got in inventory. And with that, let's begin. So we're going to start off with Sabo. He is red-yellow, just like Bello Betty, and we are playing a lot of the same cards as a Bello Betty deck. Dawn times 1, activate main. Once per turn, you may add one of your character with a cost of 3 or more and 7,000 power or more to the top of your life cards face up. So that 7,000 power is very appropriate because a lot of the Revolutionary Army cards trigger their effects with 7k power on the field. And then up to one of your character gain 2,000 power until the start of your next turn, which then you pump something up and then trigger their abilities to be active as well. So with that, let's get right into it. So I'm starting with 4 Hioris because you need Hioris in every single one of these decks. Like all 3 of these, they need a set of Hioris. Hiyori is the way you get your 5 costs into your life for a guarantee in there. And she actually, you know, like if playing against Luffy or Ace, she basically makes your life permanent or actually sustainable and get the card back. So here we have the 2-cost Monkey D. Luffy. Activate main. You may trash this character. Reveal 1 card from the top of your life cards. If that card is a Monkey D. Luffy with a cost of 5, you may play that card. Now, notice it doesn't say yellow, so we are definitely taking advantage of that. If you do up to one of your leader, gain 2,000 power until the end of your opponent's next turn. And then, because we are taking advantage of that, we are playing the 5-cost red Monkey D. Luffy for Rush. So basically, our end game will be swing with the Luffy, put it into life with Sabo, and then play a Monkey D. Luffy, pull this back out, swing again. So multi-attack. Then for our other set, we are also playing Portuguese Ace. This is basically the same thing, but you basically have to pull an ace out of life instead of Luffy, which is why, again, Hiyori is so important, so you guarantee it's on the top of life. Or if you go ahead and swing with one of these, then use Sabo's effect, put it on top of life, and then you can play one of these little characters and then basically pull them out. And it's actually really deadly because these all have Rush. So that, and then Portuguese Ace is on play. If you have 2 or less life cards, this character gains Rush. 5 cost 7k, very good stat line. Then we get into mostly the Revolutionary Army package. Bello Betty, this is actually really good, not only because she is Searcher, and obviously we want our Searchers, but because we have power reduction and everything gives a pump of 2k, she can actually hit a leader. So we have Karasu on play and on attack. We will -1 to our opponent's leader. And then our effects for, you know, Sabo, pump up Bello Betty, making a 4k, force them to give us a card for a Bello Betty attack on the field. So she's not just the Searcher, she's actually can be used as an attacker. Then we have 4 Koalas. Koalas is a searchable 2k. We're not really focused on board removal. This deck doesn't have a lot of shields, so we are still focused on being super aggro. But we, you know, obviously sometimes if something does come up that we do need to remove, Koala is a way to weaken it, and then we will remove it. Otherwise, she is just the 2k. 2 Imperial Ivankov, the new yellow blocker. Now, he isn't as amazing as Hiyori. For the on-play effect, you may trash 1 card from the top or bottom of your life. Reveal up to 1 character with a cost of 5 from your hand and add it to the top of your life card face down. So basically, it's to also guarantee that 5 on top of your life so you can use one of the little bodies. But the reason I play 2 is, like I said, this deck doesn't have a lot of defense, so this is the only blocker we actually do play. However, there's another reason we play him is because we can actually play him off of the other Emporio. So I play that too. Next, we have Inazuma, a whole set of these. This is if you have a character with 7,000 power or more other than this card, this character gains Rush. So even at 4K, even if you have no extra Don to attach, it's actually fine because, like I said, Karasu will weaken your opponent's leader to 4. But if you have the extra 2 Don, attach it. And since we are hitting for, giving a bunch of 2K pumps here, this is actually really amazing. Next, we have 4 Karasu on play, and then when attacking, same. Basically, if it has 7,000 power or more, for, they're on attacking, give one of the opponent's leader or character cards minus 1,000. This is amazing. Even on play, reduce your opponent's power to 4,000. This deck is a lot of setup before it really gets going, so you need to at least have 2 bodies on board before it really gets going. But once it does get going, it's actually really amazing. So next, we have Lindbergh. This is the only one with the trigger effect that we play. The other ones don't feel necessary. This one is there just to get rid of the baby blockers that we're seeing a lot of. And even if they aren't small, we can make them small, like I said, with Karasu or with Koala, if absolutely necessary. Then we play 4 of this Emporio Ivankov if this character has 7,000 power or more. Play up to 1 Revolutionary Army type character with 5,000 power or less, other than Ivankov. So you can't play the yellow Ivankov off of this one, but it's a way to go ahead and set up a board a lot faster. So if we play this, I like to play this, and then on the next turn attack with this, play another card, and then use the leader to put him back in the life or something. If I actually want to build up life like that early game where I don't have like my ace or my Luffy's you have to do rush with. Then, of course, my favorite of the new Ivankov card, you can play the yellow Ivankov off of this one because this one is on play. Look at 3 cards from the top of your deck, play up to 1 Revolutionary Army type character with 5,000 power or less. Then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. Like I said before, you actually do need 2 characters minimum to really get this deck going. So you playing this will go ahead and play your other characters. So this is a really fun, really aggro. It's more of a glass cannon type of deck, but I do like it. Now we will be moving on to Blue Yellow Ace. All right, so if you don't know what Ace does, for 2 Dawn attach, activate main once per turn. Look at 5 cards from the top of your deck. Add up to 1 character card with a cost of 5 to the top of your life cards face up. Then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. And then at the end of your turn, trash all your face up life cards. So basically what this deck is focused around is summoning all the 5 costs you can. You basically look at 5, put the 5 costs on top of your life, and then play the little body to then trash the little body and then play it out of life before the end of your turn, where then it just goes away. So with that, let's get into it. Again, you need a set of Hioris. So if we are, let's say, early in the game and we don't have any of the little bodies and we actually do want to keep the life, that's when we play Hiyori, because then you can just add the 5 costs that you put on there back into your hand and then swap a card out. So, of course, she is amazing and absolutely necessary, especially in this deck. That way, we actually got a +1 in recovery, because then we wouldn't lose the card from the end of turn effect. Then we have 4 Monkey D. Garp. He is our searcher. Look at 5 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to 1 Sabo, Ace, or Luffy with a cost of 5 or less and add it to your hand. And then, of course, we have our little bodies. So this Monkey D. Luffy plays this 5-cost Monkey D. Luffy. There is no yellow 5-cost Monkey D. Luffy, so we have to play this one. This character gains 2,000 power until the start of your next turn. Then if you have 1 or more life card, draw 1 card and trash 1 card from the top of your life. So we have that. Then we have Ace. And of course, we have the 5-cost Ace, which is the best card. He is the 5-cost 7K great stat line with Rush. And then finally, this is the only one of the 3 that I would actually play Sabo. So we have little baby Sabo that trashes to play the big Sabo. And then on play, you may trash 1 card from the top and bottom of your life, KO up to 1 of your opponent's character with a cost of 5 or less. So not always going to use it because you really can't afford the life. especially since you start at 4 and we don't really have any recovery in this deck. This deck is just hitting really hard by playing a bunch of 5 costs early. And then because we do hit hard and this is blue, we play Charlotte Pudding. You hit your opponent for, let's say, 7K. They're most likely going to take it early in the game because they don't want their hand to get too low. And then usually around 7 cards in their hand is when you want to drop a pudding. -2 is don't get too greedy, because if you try to hit them and they already have 7 and, you know, they can give 2 cards to counter it out to go down to 5, it usually is then a dead card in hand. So don't get too greedy to try to make them, unless you know their hand is bad somehow. But I usually like to drop this when they have 7. -2 is -2. Then we have our other 5 cost, which is Satori, 2K counter, and you could play it if you want to, but like I said, if there is, let's say we whiff on the other characters and we have to put this on top, that's when you use Hiyori to swap it out. Then we have our 5 cost Yamato. That is also a rush card, but she is also a 2K counter. On play, look at all your life card, place 1 at the top of your deck, and place the rest back in your life in any order. Usually not using that. But, you know, if we absolutely need it, we will. But mostly she is a 5 cost, so we can use it for ace and then, 2K counter. Then we have 200 million volt Amaterasu. And of course, that is to rest the blockers because we have no cheap way to get rid of blockers. We could, like I said, we could use Sabo if we need to, but I'd rather just rest it, give something a pump. And then, if this is in life, its trigger effect is pretty good. If you may trash 2 cards from your hand, add up to 1 card from top of your deck to the top of your life card. It's pretty good. And then finally, because it is blue, we are going to play 4 Sanji's Pilaf to draw 2 cards. And then, trigger main is the best place to have it. But because our hand does get pretty small, we do want to play Sanji's Pilaf. And early, where we don't really have anything else to do, we will be, activating it if we have it in hand. All right, and moving on to the final deck. Lastly, we have Monkey D. Luffy. This is the most impactful of the 3 in the metagame. His effect is your face-up life cards are placed at the bottom of your deck instead of being added to your hand according to the rules. Dawn ×2, activate main. Once per turn, you may trash 1 card from your hand. If you have 0 life, add up to 2 character cards with a cost of 5 from your hand or trash to the top of your life card face up. Now, that means your opponent hits it. I mean, you get 2 recovery, but they go to the bottom of your deck. Unless you flip it over somehow, which is why we have a set of Hiyoris. So, of course, that is why we have Hiyoris. And this deck is very similar to the Ace, just the style is just slightly different because we actually do have a bigger boss in this, and it's also not as fast because we can take our time with this deck. So, of course, we got our 4 Searcher Monkey D Garp. And then I play 2 Three Brothers Bond just to make it a little bit more consistent to get my 5 costs out onto the board. But I do see a lot of people play Reject, and that makes a lot of sense because if your opponent tries to manipulate it where you don't have 0 life, you need to be able to trash it yourself. And if you don't know if it's a 5 or not, I mean, you really do want to go ahead and, hit Reject. And Reject would also be good for that game finish. So say you go to 0, you put 2 cards back, you set one of them as an ace, one of them as a reject, or sorry, one of them as an ace, one as something you don't care about. You play the reject, get rid of your opponent's last life, and then you play the baby ace and then have something else that also has rush. So, but I'm currently testing out with the Three Brothers Bond just to make it a little more consistent. Then, of course, again, we have our set of Monkey D. Luffy's, which then plays the 5 cost Monkey D. Luffy's. We have our set of aces to play our set of 5 cost aces. Now, the only difference is Sabo here will not be playing the yellow Sabo. We are going to be playing the black 5 cost Sabo, where we get a big blocker. Our characters can't be KO'd by effects until the start of the next turn, and then we get to cycle 2 cards. Then for our other 5 costs, we have Satori. Some people do play Shirahoshi. You can play Shirahoshi, but remember, if it hits, it goes to the bottom. So we would rather, you know, if we can, we want to flip it face down. We'd have to flip it face down, so it doesn't really matter there. And then, of course, I got more Yamatos. And then finally, the black cards. So, of course, 4 Borsalino and 4 Gecko Moria. Gecko Moria to play, you know, your 4 costs and less. So you can either do 2 baby bodies. You could do a bunch of you could do the, you know, 2 different ones of the 2Ks and less if you already have set up your life to have, you know, your ace, your Sabo, whatever. You play it out. And if you really need to survive, you can play a Borsalino as well as a baby Sabo. The baby Sabo comes out rested, but it doesn't matter because we can trash it and then play the bigger Sabo, which is also a blocker. So 2 large blockers on that turn, along with setting up a 8 cost 9K body, is amazing, which is why I think this is the strongest one, because we actually have a boss card that is bigger than a 5. And I hope that was quick enough, because a lot of the cards are the same. The reason we play them are the same. And thanks for watching, guys.